Are you a pet parent looking for the ultimate pet pampering experience? At Party Paws Playhouse, they understand that your furry friends deserve the best. That's why they offer top-notch grooming service and a luxurious pet hotel experience like no other. Whether your four-legged family member needs a spa day with the expert groomers or a cozy staycation while you're away, Party Paws Playhouse has got you covered. Are you ready to make an appointment or a reservation? Give them a call today at 708-898-2358. The friendly staff is always there to assist you and to ensure your pet's comfort and happiness.
Don't let a DUI charge ruin your life. Get a professional and confidential evaluation from our experienced team at True Heights Treatment. Our evaluations are accepted by the majority of courts in the state of Illinois and provide a comprehensive assessment of your substance use patterns and potential treatment needs. Get the help you need today and start your path to a brighter future. Contact us now to schedule your evaluation at 708-248-7039 or at thtdui.com.
The George Brassey Podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1 at gmail.com.
The George Brassey Podcast is brought to you by Enzo's and Caramel Corn, located at 1710 Chicago Road in Chicago Heights, Illinois. Enzo's and Caramel Corn is the go-to spot for authentic Italian beef, pizza, and the most irresistible caramel corn you'll ever taste. Whether you're in the mood to dine in and savor the cozy atmosphere, grab a quick carry-out order, or have your favorites delivered right to your door, Enzo's and Caramel Corn has got you covered. 7 days a week and open late. Call Enzo's and Caramel Corn today at 708-754-7040 or visit them at enzosbeef.com. Hello everyone, it's George. I'm so glad to welcome our very first judicial candidate and sitting judge, my friend, Judge John Fairman. John, thanks for coming on the podcast.
George, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
John,
and I'm proud to be the first.
You are the first. John, can you talk about where you grew up and how you became interested in politics, government, and eventually the law?
So I grew up almost like a military. I had the tale of two different worlds. My father, from the day I was born, was a hospital executive, ranked number 1 and 2, and 3 in the country. He's been a CEO my entire life through today. He was from a legacy of success where his father was a permanent minister in Memphis, Tennessee, and also in the Delta of Mississippi. My dad had 12 brothers and sisters in the segregated South. Each one of them all went to college. And then my father was mentored by the founder of Blue Cross Blue Shield and led him to his path of hospital administration. And so I was born in a situation where I had heads of state, prominent members, ministers of 20,000 member churches, presidents, mayors, governors, and so forth, almost in essence kind of in my kitchen in the mornings and me being in theirs. On the other end, my parents got divorced when I was 1. I spent the summers with my mother, and despite the fact that my mother was a high school or a homecoming queen, and despite the fact that she was a straight A student, attended college, after they got divorced just before I was 1, mental health sunk in, and that was before mental health was really a term. And she, uh, it kind of spiraled out. Yeah, health conditions, mental health conditions. So I would spend my summers with my mother. She would actually have me with her best friend in the projects of Dallas Fort Worth, and I had folks who became who I thought at that time were my cousins, who were from being shot at, in and out of jail, in and out of rehab, then and even to this moment. And so I grew up with these two stark different worlds. I used to play basketball for lunch money. And keep in mind, this is before the days of cell phones, before the days of um, Sky pages. So I couldn't just call my dad and say, come pick me up. Not to mention, originally he was in Houston, my mom was in the area, Dallas, Fort Worth. And so these two stark different worlds, I say you learn to appreciate, I guess, both sides of who people are, where they're from, but the circumstances they're going through. That, regardless of people's circumstance, every life has value and meaning, regardless of who they are or where they come from. But so I grew up in Houston, Texas. I was born there, but I moved to Denver, Colorado when I was, I think, about 9. Then I moved to Washington, D.C. when I was about 14. And, uh, you know, and I graduated high school from there, attended college at Howard University. And so to answer the question, I kind of grew up like a military child. And that was, um, I lived in many different cities, went to many different schools.
That really must inform you as a young college student. What's that like for you to enroll in college and set off in Washington, D.C. at Howard University?
I didn't become stable in regards to one school until law school. So in college, I went back to Houston, Texas to play. I went on a football scholarship to Texas Southern University. I got hurt, a separated shoulder in the end zone during preseason. I transferred to I transferred actually to Towson State, now Towson University in Maryland, for football. And I played there I attended school there for that semester. And then for my my second, third, and fourth year, my sophomore, junior, and senior year of college, Howard University, my uncle, actually it was my brother's blood uncle, Baron Harvey, was the dean of and still is the dean of the business school. While we were getting my brother into the school, uh, I learned about Howard University more than what I knew, because when you spend 15 years in DC, Howard University, that was just a school that was in the city. It wasn't my top choice, but after hearing about it, it became my top choice, and I transferred into Howard University, and it was kind of the rest was history. I spent my 3 years there. I did 20 plus credit hours every single semester. Went to school throughout the summer to catch up because of all the transfer credits. But I also got a job that probably changed my life when I was during that summer of my freshman year, going into my senior year.
Judge, what was that job?
So there was a software fraud detection firm that secured the online and offline banking system for the country. The retired heads of MasterCard, Visa, all these credit card executives got together and formed this sort of security firm, because the credit card companies were losing millions upon millions of dollars. All these financial institutions, banks, were losing millions of dollars on multi-card counterfeit fraud. They didn't want to give their information directly to the FBI, and so they created an intermediary where all these financial institutions had their information downloaded every single day, every night, into one database controlled by these retired credit card heads that would then investigate, do their own analysis, and turn over these investigations to the FBI for prosecution. And so when I did it, I thought it was, this is before you have social media and all these different avenues to apply for jobs. This was a newspaper article, and I thought it was a law firm. I worked as a basketball team had me over at a law firm as a clerk over in the summer, and I was doing that or I was applying for something I thought was a law firm, but I went, I interviewed, I had no idea what it was. I probably barely knew how to turn on a computer. This is before computers were prominent as they are in every household in Rome. This was, if somebody had a computer in their house, they were probably doing very well at that time. But I went from barely learning how to use a computer to being a operations analyst, a data analyst, and securing the East Coast and the Midwest from multi-card counterfeit fraud. But they taught me stocks and bonds. They taught me how to trade. All these retired executives kind of took me under their wing and, pulled me in the path and direction of, study hard, work hard. And I was able to see it from my father's side, as an example. But here I was now working in it every single day. And, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the law enforcement side, but I also enjoyed the business side.
And how do you make the decision to end up becoming a lawyer?
That one was interesting. So I never ever intended to be a lawyer. In fact, I had to take pay additional $1,000 even to take the bar exam to become a lawyer. But I did well. I graduated towards the top of the class at Howard University in finance. Number 2 in the class. I did well in finance. And that, like I said, that was really that job, because I would say I was high school straight jock. And I didn't start firming down on books until Howard University. And it was going there. I intended to be straight in finance. Went to law school to live on the legal side of the financial arena. And the job I had was going to pay for it if I stayed there at Howard. And so I went because I wanted to know the legal side on it. The kid that graduated number 1 in the class went to Harvard, and his job, Goldman Sachs, paid for him to get his MBA and JD. So I was going to do the same thing from Howard. I met my wife a couple of days before law school, and I end up choosing a school that wasn't my first choice, that I truly enjoyed. But I went back to Texas Southern for law school because I met my wife right after church. And technically speaking, I actually proposed to her the day I met her. But nevertheless, I went to law school there because of her, and went through it and decided to become a lawyer. Because I say the male ego is something special. I didn't get the job offer I wanted in finance, and because I got a just under $70,000 job working in New York as an analyst, I was insulted by the job, that and the signing bonus, which I think was like $10,000. So I decided to take a $44,000 job with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office because I think, just being upset. I said male ego is special. It's something. And that is, that. And I had a job offer with on Capitol Hill, working with the Judiciary Committee. I had a job offer working for President Bush as well. I turned down both of those because I did not feel that I had a brand new marriage, and working on Capitol Hill, you're doing some extreme hours. And my wife and I have opposite personalities where she's an introvert, and I'm an extrovert. And so I didn't think that was conducive to a new marriage. Took a job at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and applied to take the bar exam at the last minute, and the rest was history.
And at some point, Judge, you become a village trustee in Justice, Illinois. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So I was in the state's attorney's office. I left the state's attorney's office, and despite the fact that at that time that was probably the best job most enjoyable job I ever had. I truly loved working with the community, working with law enforcement, I was a community prosecutor as well, and it gave me a chance to work with all sides, all facets of it. And I enjoyed it tremendously. But I bought a house or a townhome in Justice. And when I left the state's attorney's office, I did it solely because at that time I couldn't afford my mortgage. And I was looking for different options, looking for teaching jobs, looking for everything to supplement my state's attorney's income because I wanted to stay there for at least 10 years. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't afford the mortgage. I left the state's attorney's office, went into private practice, and it just overnight, my law firm that I was just creating just boomed. It just, it took off in a huge way that I wasn't expected that soon, that early, that fast. And I was practicing law. I got a chance to get to know a lot of the elected officials over in Justice throughout my time while I was living over there. And the mayor asked me to run with them. The first that I was placed on the board as a police commissioner and fire commissioner. Then I became the head of the police and fire commission board. And then they asked me to run as a trustee. And so I did that as well. But I loved it. You had Democrats, Republicans, a unified party, working together. They didn't have, parties. It was all everybody running together for the purpose of, community. I enjoyed it.
And talk about how you became a judge from that point, from your successful law practice. What led you to becoming a judge?
So I had no intentions of becoming a judge. It wasn't on my radar. And I loved private practice. I enjoyed it. I was my opinion at that time that the more money I made, the more I could help. The more money you make, the more you can help community, the more you can help people, the more you can help build the community, businesses and folks, and investing in the community. But it was a situation where we grew, we were doing well, and I'd been asked before, years before, and I, decided not to pursue that path. When the opportunity came up in 2019, it seemed right. I had people convincing me. I had people asking me, uh, community folks that spoke about it, and I must say, and also I would say what played into that is that my oldest has autism. My family the kids were getting older, and I wanted to just be, more involved with, um, from the family aspect of being able to make every single game between being able to, coach, help, and spend more time with my son that had autism and directly teaching him. And so the judicial path allowed me to still be heavily involved in the community, to serve the community, but also have more involvement with the family as well. And I must say, this job, while I didn't know then what I know now, and that is it's the best job I've ever had. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would do this job for free. I absolutely love going to work.
And Judge, you work a lot in the mental health courts. Can you talk a little bit about being in that role, and what should mental health professionals know about your role as a mental health judge?
Sure. And so I'm at the Bridgeview Courthouse. I have a regular criminal and major traffic room, meaning DUIs, aggravated speedings, people driving over like 100, reckless driving cases, and gun cases, drug cases, and so forth. But I also have two other different roles, and that is I have a expungement court call where I do that on as it comes up on a regular basis for the cases that come through the municipalities that go to the Bridgeview Courthouse. But I also handle emergency mental health cases. And so it's a county division case Prior to it, before, people who needed help in the field of emergency mental health or writs from a judge, orders of, you know, really detention orders to where there's emergency mental health. The person there may be a diagnosis. It could be a situation where the person has autism, they have dementia, they have schizophrenia, health is deteriorating, they're not eating, they're not taking care of themselves, they're not taking showers, they're not sleeping. All these factors that lead up to this person needs help. And families see it. They see signs. They see the person freaking out. They see anxiety. They don't know what to do. They usually call the police when this person is having an episode. And the problem is that often they don't tell the police what's going on. And the police, um, are coming into the situation where they have no idea. And what they can do in this situation is, and I'm speaking with a lot of different police departments. I'm now going through a lot of different municipalities and police departments, speaking to the chiefs, because in that situation, the family can come over to one of the judges like me and ask that we sign a writ for emergency emergency medical services to go into the home with the police and safely take that person over to the hospital. Like I said, it could be a situation where they're just not taking their medication. It could be a situation where the person needs to be committed for a day or for two or for longer. I know it affects everybody. Mental health is something that affects everyone, either directly or indirectly, but it's something that most people, it wasn't a term that most people knew or used, or an awareness wasn't large as way as it is right now. So I appreciate the athletes, the entertainers, the prominent people within the community coming forward to say, yes, I have a problem, or my loved one has a problem. And before, that was just kind of under the curtain, people didn't pay attention to. But now that more awareness is being played to mental health, more attention is being paid. I like to deal with the other side, and that is you don't just. And if you do, I would caution people, make sure you tell them exactly what's going on before, and why this person is having this episode, why this person is just put a hole in the wall. This is not a bad person. This is a person who is freaking out or having an episode or went through life changes and is now having anxiety attacks. But prior to calling the police, it would be nice for them to come over to the court, allow us to, and they can go to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office out of any district in Cook County. The order can be signed for that person to, after a hearing, for that person to safely go to the hospital, with emergency medical service and with the police.
Judge Fairman, you are looking to run for the 15th Judicial Sub-circuit.
I am.
Can you talk a little bit about who you would potentially represent, the footprint of your district?
Sure. So the 15th Judicial Sub-circuit. So a lot of people don't understand sub-circuits, and I understand why. So this is one county. Why can't you just vote for somebody? Back in the 90s, you had sub-circuits that were created, and that was because to get more diversification on the bench, from minorities, you had from Republicans as well. And that's really why it was truly created, to get more diversification on the bench from these areas, that whether or not it was people from the Latino community, people from the African American community, people from a high percentage area with Polish or Italian, to get more diversification that represent what the county actually looks like. And so sub-circuits were created in these areas. The 15th Judicial Sub-circuit was just changed, and it includes all of Rich Township, some of Bloom Township, one city in Thornton Township, and then also Orland and Lamont. But so the cities would be Lamont, Orland Park, Tinley Park, Chicago Heights, South Heights, Park Forest, Richmond Park, Olympia Fields, Homewood, Flossmoor, Hazel Crest, East Hazel Crest, Country Club Hills, and these are, University Park, a small portion that's in Cook County. And so you have all these um, cities that are, if you're a judge, you are a state court judge. You could technically have to deal with a case that is outside of county if there's a conflict. If you're a Cook County judge, you can be anywhere within the county. I just happen to be in an area, southwest suburbs, live in an area that I actually serve. So I don't have Flossmoor, but I'm in the south suburbs, and I do have south suburban municipalities that I deal with as well.
Judge Fairman, what are 2 books that have been important to you as a person and why?
For me, too, I would say one, first and foremost, it would be the Bible. 2, a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. The Bible, I would say, because it is filled with examples of God choosing imperfect people to lead. I mean, you could take, what was it like? Abraham, who was old, Joseph, who was abused. You had Elijah, who was suicidal. It's filled with these different, Moses had speech issues, speech problems. It takes all of these imperfect people and uses them in examples of leadership. And it explains and it shows the nobody's perfect. Everybody's able to serve. Everybody is able to do something that impacts the community, regardless of your condition, regardless of your circumstance. Everyone is capable of leading in their own respect. And it can be in several different ways. Like I said, it doesn't have to be president of A, B, or C, or governor of this. It could just be in their own community, their own block, or in their own church. But the Bible sets these examples of using these imperfect people to lead. And that is, and so the Bible has been, without question, the most important. I have one on my desk at work. I have one on my desk at home. It's important to me. The second would be Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I'm not sure when it was written. I think I read book 1. It had to be in the 90s. I read it several times, but it had to be in the 90s. Or not the 90s, I apologize. It had to be, would it be early 2000s, like 2000? No, it may have been late 90s when I first read book 1. And that is because from Conversations with God, it took, these examples of saying everybody, regardless of race, religion, color, is connected. We are all connected. If you look through history, if you look through blood, it shows that everyone traces to everyone's blood in the world traces to one woman who bones were found in Africa. Everyone. Uh, but if people started looking at, regardless of the, it goes through, it says, in essence, there's one God, and there's different races, religions, ethnicities. In essence, we're all one. And the failure of people to actually realize that we're one causes these issues, causes these problems. If people look to everyone as their brother, as their sister, as their loved one, as their cousins, it will fundamentally change how you address them, how you deal with them. And that's why I love Conversations with God.
Judge Fairman, tell the listeners when the election is and where they could find you on the internet.
The election is March 19th, 2024. And my website is just my name. It's johnfairman.com. I appreciate the support. I appreciate questions. And I just appreciate being able to help and serve the community.
Judge John Fairman, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
All right. God bless you. Take care.
Begin to transform your life and work towards inner peace with expert psychotherapy. At True Heights Treatment, our experienced therapists provide personalized, compassionate care to help you overcome life's challenges and reach your goals. Whether you're struggling with depression, anxiety, relationship issues, or other mental health concerns, our team is here to support you. With a warm and welcoming in-person and virtual office atmosphere and a commitment to person-centered and evidence-based treatments, we are dedicated to helping you address your life's challenges. Contact us now to schedule your first session at 708-248-7039 or online at trueheightstx.com. Book your appointment today and start your journey towards a happier, healthier life.
Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.